Hi guys, hope everyone's well and welcome back to the education section. This video today is going to be how to stay lean and handle your holiday effectively while doing so. So basically, episode overview is going to go over basically how to maintain your progress while you're away. Specifically fat loss if you've just recently wrapped up a fat loss diet or you're in the middle of a fat loss phase. It's basically to give you the tools to still enjoy yourself on holiday while still handling it reasonably well. So, to start off, managing expectations. Part of my job as a personal trainer or an online coach isn't to tell you what you can and can't do. It's to basically give you the awareness of the effects of your actions and to kind of give you the accountability and support you need off the back of that. So you can be as relaxed and as strict as you want. So the guidance that I provide, you don't need to follow, but it's just to be aware of what the potential effects of your actions may be. So if let's say you are more relaxed, you don't try and keep good habits in place, you don't try and keep good positive structure in place, then you might gain some weight, which is fine as long as you're aware of that and you're okay with that. And it just might mean you need to diet for longer when you're back, or you won't have as much runway to therefore push your body weight up after throughout like a bulk or gaining phase if that's what you plan to do. So you're it's just kind of weighing up the pros and cons and if it's worth the potential, you could say, sacrifice of gaining a few kilos to kind of relax on holiday. Because again, it's not my job to tell you you can or can't. It's to arm you with the tools to handle it well if you want to. And as for setting yourself up for success, so with like a holiday, we ideally want to diet ahead of time, so we don't want to diet up until we step foot on the plane. Reason being is we're gonna have high hunger, we're gonna have a lack of ability to enjoy the holiday unless we are super strict, or if we if we diet right up until the holiday and we do try and handle it well, we're gonna have to rely on a lot more willpower. Whereas if we wrap the diet up ahead of time, spend time kind of working your food up, you'll have more flexibility, you'll have reduced hunger, reduced cravings. It'll mean you'll need less willpower to handle the holiday well, and overall you'll just have better enjoyment and management of the holiday. So spending like 1 to 4 weeks maintaining or gaining body weight very slightly can be a great thing to do before your holiday, just so you're mentally not in a position where you feel like you've been restricted, which is going to make it hard to handle the holiday well. And so, like I said, you can work your calorie maintenance up so that you can eat more on holiday without gaining weight. Some people might think this sucks, or they don't want to, or they'd rather lose more weight up until the holiday. However, let's say you spend the 2 weeks prior to a holiday dieting and you lose, let's say, an extra kilogram, but then you then go on holiday and you gain, let's say, just because you've dieted right up until it, your hunger's elevated, your calorie maintenance is lower, you might end up gaining 2 kilos back. Whereas you could have maybe spent the 2 weeks prior to the holiday, maybe working your food up, gaining, let's say, a kilo, but then not gain weight on holiday, if that makes sense. So you've ultimately came back in the same position, but you've spent less time needing to purposely diet, if that makes sense. So there's no point dieting right up until the holiday unless you want to struggle to handle it effectively and be on low calories and super hungry all holiday. So yeah, spending some time working your food up prior is a great idea, or at least at maintenance, so you've got that mental break as well. And being at maintenance doesn't mean maintaining your progress. You can still progress at maintenance, build muscle, and improve how you look visually as a result of that. And bear in mind, like if you do maintain before your holiday and you gain some weight, it's not just body fat. Some weight will be water and basically food volume in your stomach, and glycogen, which is basically stored carbohydrates. When we store carbohydrates, we store around about 3 grams of water for every gram of carbohydrate we store. So that will influence your scale weight. So just because your scale weights maybe went up prior doesn't mean you've gained body fat. So, habits and intuitive eating. This is a great time to practice positive habits and intuitive eating. And what I mean by that is intuitive eating is just eating intuitively, like listening to your hunger signals, having positive habits in place instead of just relying on tracking. Depending on the nature of the holiday, you might personally want to track through it, but most holidays, I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't say you need to. Uh, Despite, or maybe in very rare circumstances, if someone's, let's say, got an extreme goal they're working towards, it's not necessary. And in terms of what habits you can keep in place while on holiday, is doing having things like a water goal, so still trying to get like an adequate amount of water in, still trying to keep the routine there. That's going to help manage your appetite and overall just ensure good health and hydration. Having a protein source with most of your meals if possible, and that's just again going to be a good way to manage hunger, and as a result manage your body weight while you're away and manage your overall calorie intake. Same with like your fruit and vegetables, still trying to like aim for maybe one with most meals here and there isn't a bad shout. And like maybe trying to follow like a 80% whole food diet, so you're not, let's say, eating processed or really unhealthy foods for every single meal, that sort of thing. And just being present when eating. So if we are more present when we are eating our food, we're going to be less likely to eat as much calories. Like because you're actually going to enjoy the food more and kind of savor the food more, which will contribute towards feelings of satiety, which is obviously going to be a good thing. And also, chewing your food excessively also contributes towards feelings of satiety. One, because we don't get full immediately after a meal, there's kind of like a delay period. And two, we kind of savor that meal more, and it contributes towards fullness further, which is shown and backed up by literature. So yeah, we want to maintain kind of some positive habits. Like, just because we're away and out of routine doesn't mean we can't do some things that are going to be good for us. And these habits don't really take away from the quality of your holiday. It's not like you're going to have a rubbish holiday because you're still drinking 3 liters of water. So still trying to keep these habits in place can help you manage it well without being super restrictive, which is what I'd recommend trying to do. And as for some tips to manage your calorie intake and to maybe not go overboard if you want to handle things well, you're most likely going to have meals out, which is obviously completely fine. And what you can maybe do is, if you know you're going to be going out for like a big meal at night, just be a wee bit more conservative throughout the first half of the day. For example, if, let's say, you have a massive breakfast, a massive lunch, massive dinner, chances are you're going to go over your calories. Whereas if you know you're going out for a big dinner, you might not need to have a big breakfast or a big lunch. You could maybe be a bit more conservative those meals. And what you can do is, if you usually eat, let's say, 5 times a day, and you have like five moderate sized meals, then you can just cut it down to three and have three larger sized meals. Again, what matters most when it comes to diet, training, anything is just adherence. So, what's going to allow you to adhere to a lower calorie intake if you're wanting to roughly maintain your body weight. And what I recommend is just try and roughly estimate how much calories you're eating if you're wanting to try and handle things well, meaning you know roughly how much calories in certain foods if you've maybe had experience tracking, and if not, you can roughly tell if something's going to be really, really calorie rich or a ton of calories, or if there's not a lot in it, just from having experience with maybe nutrition, reading labels maybe, and as a result, like use that and practice it and try and, again, you don't need to track your calories. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend needing to weigh your food out unless you've got an extreme goal you're working towards, but you can still roughly estimate. Now I've probably ate maybe 1,000 calories here, 1,000 calories there. Maybe I should have a smaller dinner, that sort of thing. What you can also do is, if you're going out for like a 3 course meal, is again be a bit more sensible with maybe some of the courses rather than others. Like if you're going out for a 3 course meal and you're having maybe the most calorie dense starter there, a really calorie dense main, and same applies with the dessert, you're probably going to end up going over your food. Whereas if, let's say, you think, right, I'm going to have quite a big main, as a result I'll have a smaller starter, smaller dessert, you'll probably find you'll handle that a bit more effectively and you won't be super over your calories. And what you can also do is reduce your eating window. So if, let's say, you aren't super hungry in the morning, you don't have a requirement to eat, then you don't need to eat immediately upon wake. For example, if you're waking up at like 9 on holiday, you could wait until like 11 or that, or 12 to therefore eat. And that just means you've got a shorter period of time to consume your calories, and so that again you can manage your hunger effectively, eat more where you're hungry, and then the opposite would apply if someone was bulking or gaining and they wanted to try and get as much calories in as possible. I'd tell them to eat as soon as possible after waking. Because if, let's say, you slam like a breakfast on holiday, slam 1,000 calories at 7 in the morning, by the time It's 12, you've already digested all that food, or maybe a decent bit of food, and that's just going to leave you with not a lot of calories to eat for the rest of the day. And what you can also do is limit excessive super high calorie foods, or just have them in moderation. Same again, like what I said regarding if you're having like a 3 course meal, kind of similar kind of circumstances here. Like if you're having like a ton of foods that are really calorie dense, that are not filling at all, like pizza all the time every night on holiday, it's going to be really hard to manage your appetite and your hunger. So again, maybe have that in moderation, because it will have a lack of satiety, lead to overeating, and things like sauces and liquid calories. Not that you can't have any sauce with your chips, but do you need an absolute mountain of mayonnaise? That's probably calories you do not need to consume. Again, if you want to handle it well, you can just go easier and more conservative on the foods that don't fill you up, and then still again enjoy your holiday while doing so. Next up, like if you are all inclusive, some specific advice for it is there's obviously a lot of temptation and food available, and the same guidance as I previously went over applies. However, although there's a lot of temptation and food available, there's also a lot of kind of good filling foods available usually. So when I'm all inclusive, what I'll basically do is I'll start each meal with a lean protein source and vegetables. So I'll literally like, I mean, going after one of my contest preps, and my hunger was absolutely sky high. So it is a circumstance where it is a bit harder to kind of adhere and to kind of manage it effectively. I started each meal with basically a big plate of salad and a leaner protein source. And once like you eat like a, let's say, a massive plate of lettuce and like tomatoes, cucumbers, things like that, nice fresh fruit and salad, which I enjoyed, I'm not going to overeat that much on other foods because I've already felt a lot of space in my stomach. And what I also done was like I drank like a glass of water or zero sugar Sprite before each meal, and again that's taking up space in my stomach, helping me eat less. And I just like had a pick of everything. Like when you're on holiday or all inclusive, like if you've if let's say there's pizza available, do you need to have a full pizza? Maybe not. You can probably still enjoy it, just getting a slice. And same applies with like other foods. Like, do you need to eat like a plate of profiteroles? Could you just have a couple here and there? You probably can get away with it, because at the end of the day, like I don't look back at that holiday and think, oh God, I wish I had a plate of pizza instead of the one bit of pizza. The reason why, or like the when you look back at a holiday, you don't think about things like that. You don't think about necessarily how much food you ate or that. You think about like spending time with others. So that's kind of what's important. And again, you can eat intuitively, roughly estimating your calories when you're away, and just have a bit of everything. But just remember, food will always be there. That's something that helps me, like when I'm hungry, etc. When I'm dieting, like if I want, I can get a burger whenever. Like I could order one immediately. So when you're out for dinner or somewhere, and then some food's really good and you're tempted to overeat, you're at a buffet, just remember, I could go here tomorrow. I could get this again. There's like an infinite amount of food available, or not an infinite, but I think you get the drift. Like we're not, it's not a scarce resource nowadays in this society. Thank you very much for watching. The rest of this video is available to my online coaching clients in the Coach by Charlie education section. If you're interested in online coaching, or simply where else you can find me, feel free to have a look at the links in the description. And lastly, if you did enjoy the video and found value in it, any support is greatly appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe.